You know, whether you live in a tiny condo or a giant house, I think every one of us can relate to not knowing the best way to use the space we have. That's where Shelf Genie can help. Designer Michael Bowman is here to talk storage solutions. We're so happy to have you back. So let's just remind us all, what does Shelf Genie do?
Shelf Genie designs, builds, and installs custom pull-out shelving into existing cabinet spaces.
Okay, so you take what is already existing and make it better inside.
Yes,
Okay.
retrofitting all the moving parts.
And we're going to get to that in just a second. But first, I'm excited to ask you this question because I'm very curious to know how often does a client know what they want versus how often do they say, hey, I have this problem, what can you do to fix it?
There is a very wide spectrum. Some people have looked at us for years and are like, we finally just needed to give you a call.
Yeah.
And they've done all the research. They know exactly all the things we have to offer. And then you have the other side, which is they just need a designer to come out and just show them what's possible.
And so both ways are great. Teresa's a designer. We've worked with her before in the field and showed us the design process, which is another whole segment altogether we don't have time for. But let's talk about sometimes the things that you see potential in spaces that the rest of us can't. And we've got some examples of that.
Cool, sounds good.
All right, so let's talk first pots and pan storage. Tell us the problem you see here.
First problem is you just have the typical one static shelf in the middle, so you have two levels. That's like the first problem. And then you're not able to get to the back. Many times people have tons of items they haven't seen for years that are in the back.
I do have that, yes. And looks at all the wasted space here.
Yes, we really look to eliminate dead vertical space. Is what we call it, minimize dead space.
Minimize dead space. So here is a solution. What have you done?
So now we've got those two levels. We can actually get everything that's in the back. So it kind of doubles your overall storage in a sense.
Yeah.
And it just makes, with the access, it just makes life much easier.
What a dream right there. And then you're not lifting heavy pots and pans around, as it can get harder as you get, even I could throw my back out with some, like picking up my pressure cooker. Maybe not, but maybe. All right, let's talk about this cabinet. Speaking of dead vertical space.
Yes, so this I think is one of the coolest things our installers do. So you see that post in the middle, as I call it. They're called stiles, but I just call it a center.
Oh, that's what that's called. Okay.
I just call it a center post. It's, I think, much more relatable.
Okay.
It just blocks pretty much the whole cabinet.
Yeah, but doesn't it need to be there?
No,
What?
not necessarily.
So what do you do?
So we can actually remove that. Yes, so that same post just gets mounted onto the door, whether it's the right or left side.
It becomes part of the door.
Right,
Okay.
and instead of just having that one shelf in the middle, we've added an extra level in here. So now you're increasing, it's really just exponential.
I can't even with you. This is genius. All right, next we have bathroom storage, which is something that I literally yesterday was struggling with in my bathroom. Okay, so this is the problem.
Yes. So when it comes to bathrooms, typically there's some plumbing as well, so we can work around that in many different ways. But here under sinks, there's typically not an extra shelf.
No, because of the plumbing, right?
So there's a ton of dead vertical space.
So how do you get around the plumbing? Oh, there.
Exactly.
Aha.
So I tell clients, you can never go wrong with just having one on the bottom. Or pull out on the bottom.
Okay.
But we can also, there's different options for increasing storage space on the sides of the cabinets, as you can see here.
Amazing.
And that second shelf does pull out independently.
That would be my makeup shelf. All right, let's talk about dishes storage, because dishes are a pain, because you have to lift them up, they're heavy, trying to get those bowls from top shelf. What have you done here?
So this is an upper cabinet, and we don't typically modify upper cabinets a whole lot. There are some instances where we do, but something that people don't really think of is we can take all those dishes and we can drop them down to a lower cabinet. You've got twice the depth, and here's the after picture.
That's genius.
Yes.
Okay, that's a way to do it right there.
So that whole upper cabinet literally fits on one pull-out, and then you have another second level, at least second level.
Talk about maximizing space there.
Yes.
Yikes. Speaking of upper cabinets, though, the space above the fridge, we all have this, and it's a nightmare. It's just cookbooks, usually.
Right. So this one is actually a deep space, so you can think of it just like the lower cabinets as far as the depth. You have this space up top, which is, not the most, it's not the easiest place to access.
Yeah.
But there are options that we can do.
All right. And then finally, the compost cabinet, because that's something that, especially in Seattle, that's required of everyone to have and to use. So let's take a look at the before picture, but now what you did after is genius.
Right.
You just put it all in there, trash, compost, la-di-da.
Everything is consolidated. You've got the compost, you've got either trash, recycling, and then you have just some of your just other accessory items, the bags, liners, all that type of stuff.
One of my favorite things about your company is that everything is built right here in the U.S. I think that's really important to me, I know. So what is your best advice for someone who has storage issues and they want to address them?
Get a designer out to the home, and we're going to do, it's not just saying, okay, looking at the space and saying, do this, do this, do that. It's very much a cooperative design. So we're going to do an overall kitchen review, and we're happy to get into as much detail as we need.
And I have seen the detail. I mean, there's like computer things and all the stuff that they do. So thank you so much. I've never seen the compost cabinet. Like, that would sell me alone. And y'all, speaking of selling you, Shelf Genie has a very special offer for our viewers. The first 15 New Day callers will get a free professional design consultation and free installation. You are welcome.
This portion of New Day Northwest is sponsored by Shelf Genie.